Okay, I've did some rough shaping on this thing. I got a nice little preform out for an arrow point. Not the greatest I've ever made, but it would definitely work. Definitely bring down a deer. Now we're going to do the notching, and I'm going to show you a little bit about some of the techniques I use. One thing I like to do is, your hand has a divot right here. You can see it right here. When you put this point on and you're doing pressure flaking, you've got support on the base, support on the tip, and you get nothing here in the middle. And so a lot of times what will happen is when you push down on this portion of the point, you can very easily snap it in two. So what I do is I use a stone like this, lay it down in my palm, and then I put my leather pad on top of it. So now I've got a flat, you can see it's a much flatter surface. That's a little trick you can do when you're chipping these little points like this. And it really can help eliminate a lot of breakage. You got a much flatter surface than your hand can actually provide. So let me get my notching tool here. And you can use this in any way you want. This is a split deer leg bone, basically, all in the bone. And we're gonna get in here and see if we can notch this thing and not blow it up. This is where I have most of my problems, is when, especially when I'm notching with bone. I get a lot of failures. Just working your edge down, get it below center line, kind of rub it to make sure it's nice and dull in there, and then pop a flake off. You want that bottom of that notch to be wide enough that it doesn't, your tool doesn't contact on either side. You want to have enough room in there. You can see that where you've got a little bit of wiggle room in there. If your tool is contacting either edge as you notch, you're going to run the risk of breaking it, and it's probably going to be inevitable. So you always want enough room in there for your tool. We got another flake, and every time I do that, I kind of bite this edge out, crunch it out, widen it a little bit. Do one more. It's stalling out. It's already gotten dull in there. Alright, I'm gonna have to fudge, y'all, and use my other tool. Let me find it for you real quick. Okay, I was hoping I wouldn't have to do this, but I'm gonna fudge and use this horseshoe nail tool just to finish up the notching, because if I use that bone, needs to be resurfaced. If I don't upkeep my tools, I'll end up breaking this point. So then we got one little corner notch on it. We'll do one more on the other side. And I'll take a few flakes off first to bring that edge down my way. And when I flip it over, now it's well below center line. Push in and down. I hope you guys can see this. Flip it over. You'll always see me rubbing that edge with this tool just to make sure that that thing is nice and dull before I lay into it. Because if you crush your edge in there, your notch is pretty much not going to go any farther than where it is right at that point. So now I'm rubbing it, kind of chewing away that notch, widening it, giving myself lots of room for my tool. I put my tool in there, right against that edge, push in and then down. You really want to make sure when you do this that your edge is well below center line when you get into doing these notches. Okay, that's not the most symmetrical, but it's a lot of the vast majority of what I produce is not really that pretty. It's more made for use, and I don't really care about looks. These points are not made to win contests, beauty contests. They're made to bring down game. So I'll actually chew this off a little bit just so it's somewhat symmetrical with this other side. I'll switch back to my bone. And now when you get and do these last set of flakes, when you do these little arrow points, you really want a really small fine flaker like this. And that really will help when you make these things. So, fine pointed flaker is what you want. Will also give you a very, very sharp edge on here. Now if you're just making these to sell, then it doesn't really matter, but if you are using them to bring down something, you want the sharpest point you can get, sharpest edges. And I'll do some serrations down along that edge there. Sharpen that tip up just a bit more. And I'd call that done. Nice little corner notched arrow point. Plenty sharp. Would do the trick.